little bit of my background. I went to the University of Alabama. I was a Delta Gamma here. Got to live in the house. It was really awesome. I bet y'all like really love y'all's new house too. It looks like y'all are having a swap tonight, which is bringing back a lot of memories. And I'm just gonna assume that or no. Oh, is it Greek week already?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was driving around campus and I was like, wow, girls are really getting into their makeup lately. But I guess that's good to know, Greek week. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about bystander intervention. This is an initiative that the university is taking to really incorporate a culture of care. I think for years as women we've always been told all of these different things to stay safe, all these different risk management things. And that's really important. It's important to stay safe and be smart, but I think it's also important to focus on looking out for one another and making sure that we have our sisters' backs and we have our friends' backs, and that we're making sure that our campus is really safe by standing up against things that are kind of crappy. So today I'm going to talk about bystander intervention. This is kind of a heavy subject. Sometimes it's not a lot of fun to talk about. I will be talking about things kind of like sexual assault or dating violence, but I'm going to try and keep it light, but also be real with you as well. So first I'm going to go into some stats. So who's affected? About 1 in 4 women will be raped in their lifetime. About 1 in 6 men will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. 87% of sexual assaults are committed by someone who knows the victim. And in the U.S., there are 78 rapes every hour, and 83% of sexual assault victims are under the age of 25. These stats come from the CDC and the National Survey of Crime Against Women. So these are pretty legitimate sources as well. And those are some staggering numbers. I think when I started researching this, I didn't really realize how much this affected women. Then I looked back at my college days, and I knew several people that had been sexually assaulted and maybe didn't even realize it at the time that that's what it was. But this is something that's pretty big. It's not fun to talk about, but I think it is important to talk about it and be aware about it and not be afraid to stand up and speak out against things like sexual assault. So we are going to talk about what a bystander is and what you can do as a bystander. So I'm just going to give you a definition of what a bystander is in general and how you can be a better one. So a bystander is someone who observes or witnesses an event. They're not the perpetrator, they're not the victim, they're not directly involved, and they have the opportunity to help. So I want you to imagine back sometime when you were in college or high school. It didn't have to be related to the Greek system, but you saw something happening that it was just kind of sketchy. Nothing necessarily was going wrong, but it had the potential to go wrong. Maybe it could have been something as simple as you saw someone steal a pack of gum from the grocery store, or you saw a drunk guy take a really, really drunk girl upstairs, and she really didn't look like she was 100% there. You probably witnessed something that seemed a little off, seemed a little sketchy at some point in your life. So in that moment, you were a bystander, and in that moment, you also had an opportunity to stand up and do something. So what's an active bystander? What's a bystander that stands up against things that are wrong? Here at the University of Alabama, we want our bystanders to be empowered to do the right thing, educated on how to do the right thing, and equipped to act on that. So we want y'all to be completely developed students, and we want you to leave the University of Alabama better women than when you came here. And so by standing up and speaking out against things that you find wrong, you can do that and can help with your development and ultimately possibly prevent violence by letting people around you know that this is something that, as a University of Alabama woman, as an AD pilot, you're not going to stand for it. So we developed a model working with the Office of Title IX, working with the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. We came up with this model. First, we want to acknowledge the problem. So if you see something that's weird, see something that doesn't seem right, acknowledge it. Recognize that it's going on. Don't just brush past it, go to the next thing. Acknowledge that it's going on. Assess the situation. Find out different ways that you can help. Think about maybe a way that you can intervene. Intervening doesn't always mean going up and saying something to the person that's doing it. Maybe you're at a party and you see something kind of weird going down. maybe you just go to the owner of that house, or go to the president of that fraternity, or the president of your fraternity, and see what's going on. Sometimes assessing the situation is just realizing how you can safely help. Then finally, act with courage. Decide the best way to intervene in the situation and act on that. I always like to say there's power in numbers, so don't ever feel like you have to do anything by yourself. So if you're seeing something that doesn't really add up, if you really don't feel comfortable with it, like grab a sister, grab a friend, like grab one of your guy friends, and really have like power in those numbers. We're gonna talk about it. So moving forward, we're gonna talk a little bit about like how you can actively apply this to your everyday life, and how like you can be an active bystander, like what you can do to stand up. So what I'm gonna do is pull a scenario up on the board, and I want you to go back and think about these 3 A's. So we're going to together acknowledge the problem, and then assess the situation, and then finally decide what's the best way in this situation to act with courage. So you're at a party, and you see someone lead a fellow drunk girl. Not a fellow drunk girl, I'm sorry, that's a typo. A drunk girl. Well, so I'm gonna call myself out here. I was doing this presentation with another group, and it was co-ed, so I had like gender neutral terms. So it was like fellow party goer, and then like I quickly. So a drunk girl at the stairs. Both people have obviously been drinking, but she looks to be disoriented and unaware of what's going on. You're not sure if the guy and girl are right together, or even if they know each other, but it still seems odd. You really don't know anyone at the party. What should you do? So you don't know these two people, like a guy's leading a really drunk girl up the stairs, really don't know anyone at the party, but like, it's weird, right? Like, that's not normal. And you know, the thing is like, this happens. We see clients all the time that this same situation happened to. So like, what do?
You should go up to her and tell her that you should go to the bathroom or something.
Yeah, right? So like, just distract her. Like, girlfriend's gotta go to the bathroom in groups. Like, I know how it's like. Anything else? Like, maybe find like the owner of the house. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I had social gatherings at my house in college. I lived right behind Tutwiler. It was common. I didn't want anyone doing the do, like, in my bedroom, like, so I'd really want someone to come get me, and so find the owner of the house, like, let them know what's going on. If it's at a fraternity house, like, trust me, risk management chairs don't want that going on. Find out where the risk management chair is. Get other people involved. Any other suggestions? I always like to use humor. So I was in a sorority in college, and you know, like we go out in packs. Like it's always like 50 of us, like going to industry, right? And so we always had this thing, like if we saw one of our friends like getting creeped on by a guy, like we would always like institute the tampon rule. So one of us would like go up and be like, hey, like got a tampon I could use, like really need the help. Like nothing like cuts down on like anything sexy that's gonna happen if you talk about tampons. So like don't be afraid to like use humor and like really distract from the situation. Because in that moment, like being an active bystander, what you want to do is just get a potential victim away from the situation. Like you don't have to go and like explain what's wrong to have sex with like a disoriented drunk girl. Like that's not what you have to do. You're just trying to get someone away from a potentially dangerous situation. Okay, you're out with friends. You're out with friends after a football game, girls' side, and you see a couple in an argument. They're talking in hushed tones, so you cannot hear what they are saying. The guy has his girlfriend back against the wall, is holding her arm so she can't get away. She's making visible efforts to try and get away from him. What do you do?
Kick him in the
Yes.
This is funny.
I'd find a police officer and the UAPD or TPD to put around.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how violent the situation is.
No, that's a really great answer. And trust me, after football games, like you can't like throw a shoe without hitting a UAPD officer. They're everywhere. Yes.
I probably get like a guy friend to bring him with me to like shoot back off.
Definitely. Like get a guy friend with you. Like just you don't even have to say like get up. Be like, hey guys, what's happening? Like everything okay here? Like it's okay to be like really weird in that situation because then that puts the attention on you and like kind of takes the attention away from the potential victim. I'm gonna give you an excuse, lie. Be like, hey dude, like, what car did you, like there's a car getting towed over there. Like, just get the people away from the situation. So, make up cars getting towed, make up that someone's looking for him, like, get police officers, get other people involved. Think about who has authority in that situation. So I think typically when you think of like who has authority, you think of like police officers or, you know, like UAPD or the ABC board. But, you know, if you're at a bar, then in that situation, a bouncer has authority. They have authority to kick people out of the bar. So get the bouncers involved. Get the bartenders involved. Like, bartenders don't want to have the reputation of like their bar being like the really sketched out bar that no one wants to go to. Like, let them know. If you're at a fraternity house, like find the fraternity president or the risk management chair or any of your officers. So like think about who in that moment has authority and how you can get back up. Does anyone have any questions on this so far? Okay. So again, really the goal is just for you to be aware of your surroundings. Think about different situations that are sketchy and different ways that you can intervene. As much as we want to never have anything bad happen in our college career, like we want it to all be Greek week and homecoming minus the pumping and for it to just be like amazing and wonderful and lovely, but sometimes it's not all like rainbows and kittens. At some point in your college career, you might encounter a roommate or a friend or a sorority sister who may have been sexually assaulted, or you yourself might experience that. You probably won't. Like most of your college career is probably going to be rainbows and kittens and butterflies and swamps and Buffalo Hills, and it's going to be great. But if that ever happens to you, or if a friend ever comes to you, it's really important to know how to react. So if someone ever says, I think I've been sexually assaulted, or I think I was raped, or I think this has happened to me, the first and best thing you can do is just believe the person. One of the worst questions that we can ask, but it sometimes is the first question that's asked, is, are you sure? That's not really helpful in that situation, and that can be kind of natural instinct to ask, like, are you sure? Because it's like so shocking that this could happen to someone we know. I tell people sometimes the best thing you can just say is, thank you so much for telling me, what do you need? So believe the person, don't ever doubt them. It's not our job as like friends or sorority sisters or roommates to be an investigator and like find out what's going on. Sometimes it's our job just to be there for the person. So believe them, listen to them, comfort them, just make sure that they have whatever they need. Sometimes they just want someone to talk to you. Sometimes they don't want to say anything at all. Understand that and be there for them. Encourage them to seek medical attention as soon as possible, especially if a sexual assault has occurred and if it's occurred within the past 24 to 48 hours. We want to make sure that they get proper medical attention, that they can get any emergency contraception, that they can get screened for any STIs. It's not fun. It's not pleasant. I'm going to talk in a little bit about some resources that y'all can have, but it's really important to seek medical attention. How many of y'all here are not 21? So basically like 80% of y'all. So I think a lot of times what we see are students who are under the age of 21 are afraid to seek medical attention because typically when things like this happen, there's alcohol involved. I'm just gonna let you in on like a little secret that's like not much of a secret, but a lot of people don't know about it. The University of Alabama has a medical amnesty policy. So if you go to UAPD or if you go to DCH to get treatment for anything like a sexual assault and you're under the age of 21 and you've been drinking, you cannot get in trouble for that. That medical amnesty policy protects you because we, first and foremost, want students to be safe. So don't ever, ever, ever be afraid to go to DCH or go to UAPD if you're in trouble and you've been drinking and you're not 21. They might slip you like an alcohol abuse brochure, but they're not going to like get you in trouble. You're not going to get stammed. And we try really hard to work with UAPD to make sure that students aren't getting in trouble. Okay. Next thing is make sure that your friend sees a crisis counselor. We provide completely free counseling and advocacy at the Women and Gender Resource Center for victims of sexual assault and dating and domestic violence. So even if this thing happened like 3 or 4 years ago when they were in high school, it's important to talk to someone. You might just need to talk to them once, like check in, make sure everything's cool. Or you might need to go for longer, and that's totally fine. But it's really important to make sure that like you're getting the checkup that you need. We really want to focus on students' physical safety first and foremost, but we also want to focus on their emotional safety. It's important that you're doing okay in college and that you're able to enjoy college to the fullest. We want to make sure at the Women's Gender Resource Center, just because this one thing may have happened, just because this traumatic event may have happened, you still want to have an amazing college experience, and we want to help you have that amazing, wonderful college experience. Remember, never blame your friend for what happened to them. No one ever asks to be sexually assaulted. Like, no one goes out and thinks like, this is what I really want to happen to me while I'm in college. Like, that would just really round off like my college experience. Like, no. So it's important to remember that, again, no one ever wants this. And so regardless if your friend has slept with like 30 guys or slept with a guy before, it's never their fault. No one ever wants it. And then remember, healing takes time. So sometimes your friend might not be the same for a while. Just be there for them and remember that they're going through a lot. And so just remember that it's going to take a while for them to be back to normal. Here's some more information about the resources that we have. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Women and Gender Resource Center, about our resources. I mentioned before, we have free counseling and advocacy. So that means we have two types of people. We have our staff therapists, and what they do is they are registered staff therapists. They went to school for it, and they provide counseling. They're therapists. They make sure that everything's going okay, that you're doing okay, and they really help you rebuild from that traumatic situation. Then we have victims advocates. These people are like the practical people. We have someone on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When we win in football, when we lose in football, when y'all are gone for spring break, someone's here on call. So something happens in the middle of the night and you need to go to DCH. They can meet you at DCH to sit there with you if you have to have a medical examination, if you have to go make a report to the police. They'll be there for you. There's someone that they know the system. They've had years and years of experience with this, and I like to think of them as like, there's someone they're in your corner. They're going to be there for you. They're going to help you out. But then they also do things like, if you've missed classes because of this incident or this traumatic event, they can work with your professors in a very confidential manner. All they'll say is, like Susie Beth is being seen by us at the WGRC. She needs to make up her midterm, and they'll work with you with that. If you need to find safe housing, if you feel unsafe in your house, we can find safe housing for you. But not just you, we can help you find safe housing for your roommates as well, because I understand I wouldn't want to leave my roommates in college. We can help make sure that you get safe housing. We can help you get no contact orders. Our victims advocates help you kind of navigate the legal system and the University of Alabama system as well. So it's a really great resource. If you do, if this happens to you or a friend and you do decide that you want to prosecute or you want to press charges or you want to start a Title IX investigation or student conduct investigation, our victims advocates can explain the differences between all of those, and they can also help you put you in touch with the right people to make sure that you can make these reports. Again, everything is completely free and confidential, so if you or a friend are seeing services or seeing us for services and your mom calls because she wants to know everything, we can't even tell her that we're seeing you, much less what we're seeing you about, unless you have a written agreement with your counselor. And so that's a really big deal. I think sometimes I was really afraid of my mom finding out things that happen at college, and so I would do whatever possible to make sure that she didn't find out. And so I think that's the case for a lot of people. So you are protected by that confidentiality. Nothing's ever associated with your CWID. Nothing's ever charged to your BAM account. You never have to bring your app card or money or anything like that. So it's a pretty great resource that we have on campus, but I hope none of you will ever need it. Oh, one more thing. say your roommate comes to you or you have a friend who you think could use our resources, but like they don't want to come, you can come and like just get information for you to better help your friend. Does that make sense? So like, you know, we'll just help you be equipped with all the resources possible to help your friend. Or if you want to, if they want you to come with them, that's okay too. We're going to do whatever is possible to make sure that our University of Alabama students are getting the services that they want. But in closing, I really just hope that going out like for the rest of the year and finishing through your college career, don't be afraid to stand up against things that you think are wrong. Like, you know, when you see something that's not right, that feels wrong, you can feel it in your gut. Don't be afraid to like acknowledge that situation, assess to see what you can do to help, and finally just act on it. Because I know like I have a ton of friends that are AD Pi's long ago, and they are all like strong, powerful, amazing women, and I know like they're not afraid to speak their minds. And so I imagine y'all are all the same way as well. So stand up against things that you think are wrong, and really don't be afraid to be that bystander that intervenes. But I'm going to wrap up because I know y'all probably have a jam-packed week. Does anyone have any questions for me? Shh. No? Okay, what I'm going to do, you'll probably have like some more meeting agenda items, but I'll hang back for a few minutes because sometimes like people don't want to ask questions in front of the big group. But come ask me a question. I have cards if you like ever want to email me anything, but I'm definitely open to talking about anything that I might not have covered before. But I'll go ahead and turn it back over to your